Welcome back, everyone. It's been a while since we've done one, but we're back for EP3, and we've got our first guest. So first off, welcome. Second off, welcome, Chippo.
Welcome to you too.
You're back.
And welcome to. I'll let you introduce us, Matt.
And go for it, Ed. Introduce yourself and where you're from, what you're about, and pretty much what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, my name's Ed. I'm from Dark Horse Roastery. I'm the head roaster and roastery manager. And yeah, I've been involved in coffee since 2018, but I've been working with Dark Horse since 2022, so I've been there 3 years now. So yeah.
And based in Wallingford?
Based in, Brightwell, Stockwell, so just outside Wallingford, on a tiny little farm, really rural. Tucked out the way where no one can find us.
Boris Johnson lives there, by the way.
He does.
He
yes.
does.
Yeah,
You know,
I've not met him.
He
Yeah,
moved. He moved from wherever it was, near Tame, I think it was. To Brickwell, Softwell, which is one of the oldest villages in the country. There you go.
Yeah.
See, a little bit of knowledge there that Chippo just dives in.
Local history is my thing. So
I've not met him. I wouldn't say
and he's not come in.
He's not been to the roastery yet.
He's
no.
obviously not a coffee drinker,
No.
is he? So, as obviously the locals will know, and all our regulars, we have been using you guys now at Dark Horse Roastery. I would probably say we opened the coffee shop in December 2023. We probably started using you, I would probably say, was it March?
Yeah,
February, March of
about
2024?
Yeah, about 18 months, no, 15 months.
Yeah, 15, 16 months, isn't it? So we've been with these guys for a while. And what I wanted to do is, I wanted to get Ed on just because obviously the history of coffee and pretty much how that bean gets to the coffee shop. And we're not just the only coffee shop that the Dark Horse Roastery supply to, there's many. But I just think it would be good to kind of do that whole process, Ed, of where the bean is planted,
Yeah.
where the majority of your farms that you farm with to get to obviously your premises. From there, it then obviously comes out to us guys. So start off, I guess, where it is farmed, you know?
Well, your bean in particular is from Brazil. It's a single origin.
It is?
Yeah.
So single origin, what does that mean? When somebody says it's a single origin bean, what does that mean?
Generally, it means it comes from one country. But you can have single origins. I mean, obviously, origin just means one place, but generally, it comes from one farm. That's what we would class it as. So yours has come from one farm in Brazil, and then that basically means that it stays as that right through until it's put in the bags. So it's not a blend. You get single origins, and you get blends.
Okay.
Whereas yours is classed as a single origin.
So with a single origin then, does that define it being a specialty coffee?
Not necessarily, but I would say within specialty coffee you do see a lot more single origins. Commodity coffee is generally done on large blends, so they'll blend 6, 7, 8 coffees in there.
Right.
Within specialty coffee you'll always find they're very basic blends, 1 to 2 coffees, sometimes 3. But yeah, it just kind of it's all about being simple and being honest to the coffee itself.
Right.
Rather than blending 8 coffees in there and it being about a brand, we're highlighting farms themselves. So yeah, it's all about the farmers really.
So to put that in context then, just so from what I understand from it, having like an independent coffee shop like ourselves or having a Costa or a Starbucks, with them guys, would they have 7 to 8 different beans that they would roast together?
Potentially, yeah, and they'll have their own house blend. They won't tell you what's in it, it's their own little secret. With specialty coffee, independent coffee shops, it's all about talking about the farmers, talking about the coffee, where it comes from, you know, and it's all about being transparent basically. That's the biggest difference between small specialty coffee shops and the big chains. You know, you go to Starbucks or somewhere, they won't tell you what's in their house blend.
No.
Whereas if you go into an independent coffee shop, they'll probably tell you if they
Yeah. And let's be honest, I mean, we don't really want to know what's in their coffee because it tastes like shit anyway, doesn't it?
It just,
I mean, you know,
yeah, it feels kind of.
it's very watery, isn't it? But let's not go down that road.
Well, yeah. Well, the argument is if you having Starbucks coffee or it's just. Well, I guess it's exposed people to more coffee, right? So it's exposed people to the coffee culture that was massive in the 50s in the UK anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just I think it's just because of that people are more choosy about what it is they want, and I get this argument sometimes. Well, I go to Nero's because the coffee's better. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it is because it's another big brand, isn't it? So
Yeah, but again, it's difficult, isn't it? Because everyone's taste buds are different, right? So I don't know whether you'd agree with this, Ed, but I always class coffee as similar to wine.
Yeah.
Because you get a palate for it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it doesn't get as much recognition as wine just yet. I think a lot of people understand that wine has its own flavours, and every type of wine, depending on where it's grown, the terroir, what nation, what area, it'll taste different. With people just still sort of think coffee just tastes like coffee, and that's where specialty coffee comes in to actually prove to people that it's a lot more complex than wine. It can taste a lot more varied, depending on many different things. But so it's trying to convince people that to pay that little bit more for your cup. It supports the farmers, and you're going to get a better tasting product at the end.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you get that more one-to-one investment of you're actually getting a really good coffee. Like whereas you go to these chains and you're paying £4.20 for a regular, and you're not getting that. You don't know where that bean's come from. You don't know what farm it's come from.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot more transparency within specialty coffee.
Yeah.
And that was the whole idea in it when it first started, was that it was to make the farmers, the focus of it, and that making sure that it's transparent the whole way through the chain, so that people are being honest with you when because we can tell you exactly what farmers were paid for their crop. Which there's a lot of, especially the big chains, they won't ever tell you what they paid.
No.
For whatever their reason is. But
and I get that, and I guess from the moment the bean goes in the ground, what's on the bean is the seed.
Yeah, technically it's bean.
I
think the difference between a bean and a seed is that a bean has all the DNA to grow, whereas a seed needs something else. I can't quite remember what the difference is.
It needs watering.
Yeah,
like a plant.
It is technically a bean, not a seed.
So don't go planting your beans that you buy in the shop.
Yeah, don't plant your beans. Don't plant roasted coffee. Nothing happens.
Listen, children. Okay, I know people who will do.
No, you don't.
No, I do. I know who they are.
What, we buy a bag of beans?
Say what man said, right? This is a seed, right? That isn't what he said. But that man is what is. Got to plant this. That's been roasted. It's been in the oven. Oh, right. So I buy some green ones, and that's just sort of get it out there. Because people think.
But yeah, so they
wouldn't grow them anyway.
plant it in the ground.
How long does it take? What is that process on the farms?
So farmers will obviously take their crop, they'll plant it in the ground as a seed or bean, and it takes about 4 years to grow to maturity, at which point it will set to fruit. And the Arabica, there's two main types, Arabica and Robusta. Arabica is self-pollinating, so it doesn't need any sort of wildlife or anything to help it. It just sets to flower and then to fruit. And you're looking about 9 months to get to the point at which it's ripe. The fruit is ripe enough to pick.
So is that after 4 years?
Yeah.
So it's like near enough a 5 year.
5 year process from when you put it in the ground to when you first get your crop off it. So there's a lot of.
It's like having a dog.
Yeah.
Not looking after it, so it starts behaving itself, and then there you go.
And I guess will that change on the humidity where it's being grown as well? If they don't get as much humidity, it won't grow as quick.
It'll change depending on the origin, definitely. Different origins have different crop yields, so that there's some nations have one seasonal crop. There are nations that have two. Colombia has two crops. Brazil only has one. So yeah, it just depends on how close to the equator they are.
Right. Okay.
So coffee is a tropical plant, so it
Yeah.
grows between the tropics. The closer to the equator, the more likely it will set to fruit twice in a season. So you can actually grab, if you get it right, you can sort of get 2 crops off it. So yeah, generally it's about 9 months.
Okay.
From when it sets to flower to fruit.
So how does that work with you guys then? So when you're obviously doing your bulk orders to get your beans delivered, obviously you're not waiting every 4 or 5 years to get them delivered. So obviously they must, on the farms, they have it staggered. So like, what do? Release beans every year? There's like, they're going to be right.
The crop will continue to fruit every year once it's reached maturity. Our coffee plant, I think, lasts about 30 years before it's pretty much done. So you get plenty of crop off it.
30 years?
Yeah.
That's incredible. You never thought, would you? I never thought that. I thought it was max 5 years and
30 years.
30 years, it's like bloody hell.
Bloody hell, yeah, that is a long time.
Yeah, so you'll get a fair amount of coffee off it, but yeah, everyone has their point in the year at which their coffee is being picked and processed. So we always try and find coffees that are in season, as we call it. So they're just landing off the boats into the UK, and that's the point at which we're trying to buy them.
Right.
With certain coffees, like your coffee, for instance, we're trying to buy enough to last us a full year.
Right.
So we can keep your coffee consistent as long as possible, and then we'll just bring in the next one in behind it. So there's always, rotation, fresh crop every year. You do get some roasters that will store, they'll get it at a good price. They'll buy 3 years worth and they'll just keep using that. But we always look for fresh crop every year. Which has its upsides and its downsides, but we like to keep it as fresh as possible because that's what you get the best taste from.
Exactly right. So this is another thing with freshness. So once roasted, you've got a settling time, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, resting time. Yeah.
Resting time for 2 days, 3 days, something like that.
Yeah, generally 5 to 7 days we say. Is a good kind of measure for resting. You need to allow it to what we call gas off. So obviously during the roasting process, the coffee produces a lot of carbon dioxide. It's a fruit from a tree. Trees store carbon from the atmosphere in their fruit. We then roast that fruit, so you're releasing that carbon again, and that masks all of your flavour and your smell. So you need to let it rest and gas off a little bit, about 5 to 7 days generally.
About 5 to 7 days. So then, from that resting period, when is that ideal window to be serving that coffee up until? Because
4 to 8 weeks.
Right. So it's we have conversations with customers that come in and they do buy our beans now, but they used to go to the supermarket and they'd look on the date and it'd be like 2 months. And they just think nothing of it. And then you have that education part of that whole process of to get the freshest beans possible through your machine. This is that window of just under the 2 month period.
Yeah.
Which again, like a lot of people don't know. So it's great to have that education part where you go into these massive chains. You don't get that. All you get is your coffee, and then you drink the shit coffee. That's all you get.
Or you can be.
You don't get the education
Or you
part.
could be a wannabe expert, right? Okay, so you go online, you order some beans, and you think that this is what I need. You think this is the right beans. So you order them, they come in, they're green. Okay, you get your popcorn roaster, right? You frazzle these things the colour you think they should be, and you're trying them the next day, and that's why they taste like horrible.
Yeah.
Because it's like they haven't done anything. Plus, you've used it on a popcorn roaster, but it's interesting, and I've done that.
And that's
a lot
the
of
thing.
people. We get a lot of people asking whether you can roast coffee at home, and you can just put it in the oven. But the difference to what we do with a dedicated coffee roaster is it's got so much airflow going through it. Not only does it produce a lot of smoke, so you probably set your fire alarms off if they work, and you're just not going to get that airflow through it. That's what really creates the clean taste of fresh coffee, is that we are literally just pulling so much air through it, removing what we call chaff, which is the final protective layer of the coffee, but all of the smoke, and just creating a really nice clean flavour with all that airflow, which is not something that you can recreate at home.
And you're so bang on, because my house was like it was on fire. And then Lisa came home about 3 hours later, and the house stank. What have you been doing? I've been roasting coffee, darling, and this is what you do. And it tasted awful, okay, and that smell was in the house for about a week.
Well, this is the thing, right? So my logic on it is they wouldn't have a machine built to do something if it's something that you can just do at home.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, bang on. It's just the mad scientist inside you thinks I can do this.
Yeah.
And you realise actually you can't. There's an art to it.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and like, so one thing that I was blown away by when we first come and done our tasting for our house bean that you roasted for us was the computer, the graph.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So last time I saw a graph like that, I was doing a test at some lab for cycling, and it was my heart rate and stuff like that. But it's just kind of like roasting coffee there's a lot to it.
There is a lot of technology involved.
There is a lot to it, and this is the thing. And I'm always kind of one that if you're spending your money on something, to know the ins and outs of that and how it's done and how it's roasted and where it's come from. Like, obviously you guys are local. Like, I just think that it's great to kind of know what you're getting and where it's come from and the love, care and attention that has gone into doing it. I think it's important. So with the beans at the roastery, obviously you do our house beans, the Dark Horse beans, obviously you do decaf, but what other ones do you do, like different? Let's talk about, I guess, the flavours, the different notes that you can get, whether it's a blonde roast or a dark roast, and talk about that blonde roast. Because I always say with the blonde roast, you've got a 1 to 10 chart, and the only reason I use that is because the espresso machines, you can get the capsules, they're like marked, aren't they, like 1 to 10?
Yeah.
Which obviously down at the 1 to 5 is your blonde, and then up to that is your dark. So I always kind of relay it to that, but just talk about the different ones that you do at the roastery.
Yeah, so we've got 5 house blends at Dark Horse Roastery. There's a lot more than most. We've got...
So this is your decaf one that we have in the shop.
Yeah, we have Dark Horse, which is our main signature, named after the company.
Yeah,
so this is what you
So is this your main one then?
That's our signature blend. That's what you guys run as a second roast.
So So I class this as our darker roast.
Yeah, that's as dark as we roast. We don't roast any darker than that. And most people would say it's not that dark, but that's dark for specialty coffee.
Well, I've got a customer, right? Check this out, right? So he lives just over the road, John. Don't think you're on YouTube, but hello. He started off using our one, blonde roast, and he used to have a latte, right? And then he went to a quad, because our shots are doubles, right? Yeah. So he wanted an extra shot, so I'm like, that's 4 quads, okay? And then I was like, it's not doing much for you. Are you like an Americano drink? He said, yeah, normally at home. So I was like, try the dark roast. So he tried this, again, started off with 1 shot, a double. Then he went for a double shot. Now he has a double shot in a flat white. There's about that much milk. The rest of his coffee with this.
No words for that.
I like a Turkish coffee, right? So I like it dark and strong, but really sweet as well. So it's like that's what I was going to ask you about next week.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, the great thing is that there's so much variety that you can have. Like, if you can have a cortado, you can have a cortado in that, right? Which if your palate is for that darker roast tasting, then lovely. You have a flat white with this. Do you know what I mean? Or if you didn't want that, because you do taste a difference.
Yes, yeah, you do.
You have one of these, and you have one of our house beans.
It tastes very different.
Very, don't they? So with this, then, so
that's the whole idea in our house coffee range. So we've got 5 house blends. The signature being Dark Horse.
So that's the signature.
And then, so that is our bold, chocolatey and caramelised. That's our chocolate roast.
Bold
Tastes,
chocolatey and
you know,
caramelised.
most people want something that's going to be chocolatey. That's what people expect from coffee.
Yeah.
So that's what we deliver with that one. Our nutty. So there's the three main ones of chocolatey, nutty, and fruity. Our nutty is a Seahawk, which is a blend of two coffees. It's got a little bit of Robusta in it, so it gets a really nice nutty taste to it. And then our fruity is our Bright Star. So that is a blend of mostly Ethiopian coffee, known to be really sweet and floral and fruity. And then we blend that with a little bit of Brazil and Colombia. And then we have Wild Horse, which is our latest incarnation. That was designed to complement Dark Horse. So we've got so many people that drink Dark Horse. We wanted to give them something else to try.
Okay.
So we came up with Wild Horse, which is we originally called it Asian-inspired Dark Horse, but Wild Horse became the name. They're two Asian coffees, wild grown, hence the name. So they're grown literally in the coffee forests of Timor-Leste and Papua New Guinea. And so that tasting notes on that one are really, really chocolatey and a little bit spicy, but designed to complement Dark Horse.
So what would be a stronger tasting? Like if somebody come in, Ed, and said, "Oh,
I want a strong coffee."
I want a strong coffee," right? I always say Americano, like ditch the milk. But like if somebody said, "I want a strong coffee," would you have the Wild Horse or the Dark Horse?
They're both very similar.
Very similar.
Yeah, in terms of strength and taste, they're very different tasting. Wild Horse is a lot smoother, but the whole idea was they were meant to complement each other.
Yeah.
Especially for people who are brewing with espresso, it can be a little bit of a pain changing coffees all the time.
Yeah.
So we wanted something that you could swap in and out with little adjustment, and still get that really nice flavour, but something different. Wild Horse, we've had that on for nearly a year now, and it's going really well.
It's going well. We might have to do a little run of it in here then.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the Wild Horse, because we've got our regulars that come in straight to the Dark Horse.
Yeah.
They won't touch our house bean. And it's funny because we have some people that come in and have the decaf that don't need decaf, but they like the taste of the decaf.
Yeah, we're getting
like
a lot
Claire
more.
drinks that, the decaf.
Yeah, we're getting a lot more people drinking decaf. Volumes.
Taste.
Yeah, our volumes of decaf have skyrocketed in the last year.
Yeah.
People are starting to realise that it's not as bad as as people think it is.
Yeah.
It used to get a really bad rep. It did used to be pretty bad. You used to get it in a packet and rip it, add a little bit of water, almost like instant. Whereas now they take care and attention to decaffeinate it, to make sure that you're getting the maximum flavour. And a lot of the time, when we run what we call tastings at the roastery, we hide a decaf in there and no one finds it.
No,
you won't taste the difference.
Whereabouts is it? Who removes the caffeine?
So it's decaffeinated at origin. So this is a Colombian coffee, decaffeinated in Colombia. It's called the sugarcane process. It does use a mild solvent, but it's actually a naturally occurring solvent. You get it from fermenting sugarcane, or you actually get it in apples and pears as well. And basically, they steam it, soak it in this solution for 72 hours, and just slowly dissolve the caffeine out of it, and then rewash it, re-dry it, and then it's shipped to us. So it's already decaffeinated when it arrives at our roastery, but we treat it like a normal bean because that's what it is. And we roast it just slightly differently, but that's why you get the taste that it just tastes like coffee.
Is that the only decaf?
At the moment, yeah, we do. There are other processing methods. The majority of them use some form of solvent. They have to. There is one process that doesn't, which is called Swiss water decaf, which we did have on the roastery. We literally just ran out of it. We're going to hopefully get it back soon. And that doesn't use any solvents. It uses fresh water. And basically what they do is very technical, very high tech, but they create a green coffee solution by soaking soak a batch of coffee in this solution, extract 100% of it. So everything from the actual coffee bean is in the solution. Then they run that solution through carbon filters. That removes all of your caffeine. So the solution is now caffeine free. They then drop another batch of coffee into that solution. The only thing to move across into the solution is the caffeine, because that's the only thing missing. So that then creates you a caffeine-free coffee, and they can recycle that solution, run it back through the carbon filters.
Oh, okay.
So they can keep using it. The main downside to that process is that Swiss Water is technically a brand. So they're based in Vancouver. So to decaffeinate the coffee, you have to ship it to Vancouver.
Right.
So you've got technically double shipping on it. So
Yeah.
that's a bit more expensive. There's downsides to both of them. One use solvent, but done on site, and then the other ones don't. But you have to ship it to Vancouver.
Right.
It's a much better process. I mean, it may be not super green, however, but on saying that, the previous solvent, that's quite. It's quite intensive, and that was about decaf. It was really bad for the environment and all that stuff.
Yeah, they used
to.
A lot of commercial coffee is done using peroxides and things like that. Quite serious solvents. So they did get a bit of a bad rep. But within speciality, the solvents they use are very mild, naturally occurring solvents. As I said, they actually find them in apples and pears and things. So it's a very mild solvent. Naturally occurring. So yeah, it is. It's about as good as you can get without using solvent. Being a brand with Swiss Water, there is a little bit of brand tax on it, so it is a little bit more expensive, just from the fact that theirs is the only one that doesn't use solvents.
I might be trying that. So I'm trying some decaf because I'll drink way too much.
You're going to do some roasting at home? Yeah.
No, sure. Sorry.
Have you ever had the decaf here?
No, I haven't.
No, you've got to try it.
Have you had it?
I haven't now.
No.
I've only had mostly a house, and I had the dark roast with my for my cafe bonbon.
Cafe bonbon.
Nice.
Do you know what cafe bonbon is?
No.
Yes. I've created a drink that Ed doesn't know.
The cafe bonbon.
No.
You've got to be careful with how much.
It's meant to be a 50-50 ratio.
I would say.
I always go a little bit less.
I'll let you explain what it is before I tell you.
So cafe bonbon, right? So we used to go to like Spain cycling, and I think it's a made up drink, right? So it's condensed milk and double espresso on top. That's all it is.
Looks great.
But you go out to Spain,
Isn't that
it might be called another name.
it's called
Cafe bonbon.
no, it's not. It's called something.
In Spain, they're called cafe bonbons, but
We think that could be a made up name.
but it could be a made up name, but it could be
Yeah, I can't remember what it's
a
called.
traditional.
Yeah, the
coffee
Spanish drink it with condensed milk.
That's it. Yeah. So it's condensed milk, and when you're out in Spain, you get it in a sachet, and they give you the espresso, and then you put it in after. So you have to really kind of stir it. Where we give the option when we do it, we put the condensed milk in first.
Yeah.
They do say 50-50. Like if you're out in Spain, it's 50-50
Yeah.
to whatever volume you've got to liquid with the espresso. But I normally just go a little bit below that. And I'm a mixer. I have to stir it. And it's funny because it's only, we have got some other customers that do have it. We've had a customer come in here and say, oh my God, you do a cafe bonbon?
Yeah.
And we never get that because people just like lattes,
It definitely has another name. I can't remember.
Maybe it has.
To me, it's the art of that drink. It's getting. It depends how sweet you want it, isn't it?
Well, exactly.
And I like just get. It's like it's too much condensed milk. It's just like overpowering.
Yeah.
So you've got to get. It's got to be a nice dark, double espresso, and then a little bit of milk.
Yeah, just a little bit. Well, and so we was like, we do it with the house bean, but then Chippo had it with the dark roast.
Very nice.
The Dark Horse, and you said it was nice because it was like more going on in the palate.
I think I had two.
I think you did have two that day.
I did a PB on Aston that day.
Yeah, you PB,
left
yeah.
here, not PB for the year, which is not bad, Good advert.
Yeah. So you'll have to find out what that is, the proper name of it. I think. Do you know what? I think you're right. I have heard it called something else.
Yeah, I can't think what it's called.
No, I just called it that because that's what it's called out in.
When we just give me a go there, mediocre this after that.
In Spain. Do you know what? It might be called something different in Italy.
Yeah.
Maybe a.
It's definitely a Spanish thing. I can't think what they call it now. It does have a name, a bit like a cortado, because that's a Spanish drink.
Yeah.
What about macchiato?
The Italian.
Is that Italian? I thought. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They're quite
caramel
popular.
macchiato.
Ask for a macchiato in Starbucks and see what you get.
Yeah.
Oh, it was hilarious, right?
That
So
was what's this?
we hadn't
milk
been
the gun.
we hadn't been in here long. I think we'd been trading for a couple of months. And I remember I brought the drinks, it was me and Claire were in here, but I brought the drinks to the ladies and she asked for a flat white.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I asked for a flat white. So, oh, that is a flat white. She said, no, it's not, it's bigger. I was like, what do you mean? She said, well, it should be bigger. I said, where did you go? She was like, I went Costa. I said, how big was it? She said it was about this big.
A bowl of milk.
And yeah, I was
a
like,
bowl of milk
that's
with that much coffee.
I'm sorry.
But it's just, I mean, it's
But
not.
that's the thing, it's the education part of it, you know, it's
Yeah.
just kind of like,
Well,
you know what you're drinking.
You realise that actually when you want a milkshake, in fact, that you're actually, because my wife just likes like that much coffee in it. It's unreal. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a milkshake.
Yeah.
That's one of the things with specialty coffee, and what you'll find with independent coffee shops is that you don't generally get the sizes that you would get anywhere else, because the coffee is not as strong because we don't roast it as dark, so you don't need as much milk with it because you want to taste the coffee.
Yeah.
The coffee is what you're highlighting, so
Exactly.
you drown it in milk, you're not going to taste it.
Well, this is the thing. You'll go to, you'll be here in the UK, then that day, go to New York, go to Spain, anywhere. You'll get a coffee and it's half the size.
Yeah.
And you get the Brits going, oh, it's just not good enough. It's one of pints.
Yeah.
A pint. I mean, it's like naturally.
But we have customers come in, like we do a large takeaway, so we've got a 14 ounce takeaway, or it's just our mediums class as 12 ounce. But we was like, we're not getting a large China cup, you know, for dining in. It's just one. It's just the 12 ounce when you're drinking in, and the flat whites are the flat white size cups and espresso. But for that reason, you know, it's just kind of like you're coming to drink a coffee, not that pint of hot milk.
Well, it's education.
Like,
To a certain extent,
you know,
it's education, because these great big places, they introduce them to coffee itself and the culture. It's when, as you evolve through having the massive venti
18 ounce.
Yeah, it's like
20 ounce.
because you're a family of five, you know,
Yeah.
and it's one of the reasons we hunt out cyclists hunt out decent coffee places. Is you look for something that isn't going to be a pint swirling around your stomach as you're riding. You want most the old grizzled riders will just have an espresso. I mean, it's like that, or have a cafe bonbon. People want to,
Yeah.
and you know.
I mean, to be honest, it's flat whites, cortados, cafe bonbons for cyclists. Like,
Gotta weigh yourself down going up the hills.
yeah, and that's all they kind
You're
of
just
have.
sloshing around. I mean, you don't need that. You want something to leave you a kick.
I mean, do you have cappuccino now and then?
Yes, nice though, because you do nice. That's a nice here.
Yeah.
It's not, but it's the right amount.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get a cappuccino in a large chain, it's a bowl of milk.
Yeah.
It's a bowl of milk
Yeah,
with
it's
a
the
big, with two handles on the side.
handles.
And you're like, what is
Yes,
this?
I drink it like that.
What is my spoon? You know, and it's like, I don't want that. And you know, there's no real taste. It's very vanilla, should we say, magnolia taste. Of a coffee. And that's it.
Yeah. So with the beans, do you sell them in 250 bags? You do?
Yeah. So
Don't
so through our website you can get them in 250, 500 or kilo on any of our coffees. Most people tend to buy 250s.
Yeah, they're quite popular because if you've got a 250 bag like we do,
Is that
it's
a
around,
250 bag?
yeah, that's a 250 bag. It's around about 12.
Yeah,
12
we
cups
find.
coffee, isn't it?
Yeah, we find for most people
18.
manual brewing, so brewing a cafetiere at home or home filter machine, something like that. 250 is perfect because you're going to get, a good 10, 12 cups.
Exactly, it would be fresh. It's not
yeah.
like sitting in the hopper or in your cupboard for God knows how
Yeah,
long.
whereas with a home espresso machine, people who've got Sage machines, things like that, we say start at 500. And
Yeah.
if there's you and your wife, you're having 2 coffees a day, then you're going to probably need a kilo, and that'll last you a month. And you can just roll through it because you're going to get a little bit more wastage with espresso, so you need that little bit more coffee. But yeah, so we generally say a kilo for people anyone brewing with espresso
At home, okay. And then what we'll do as well, we'll put a link in the description to the Dark Horse website if you want to do 250s or 500 or a 1 kilogram bag. Go on there and have a look. So what is the most popularist bean that you do? Is it your
Dark Horse.
Your Dark Horse?
Yeah.
And is that the one that you started off with?
That is the one that Emily first came up with.
From day dot?
Yeah, so that is what the company is named after.
Yeah.
The company is named after the house roast. So she started off with Horsebox Coffee Co. So that is our mobile Horsebox coffee shops.
Which are still going?
We're still going. We've got,
how many have you got now?
There's 3 horse boxes and two CVs, de Chevaux. So they're all pootling around Oxfordshire, mostly around Oxford. The main one is outside the Natural History Museum in Oxford, right outside the entrance.
We used that one even before we had the coffee shop, and there's a Costa or a Starbucks opposite, isn't there?
Yeah,
and there is. Yeah, and I remember walking up and I think one of my girls were like, oh, because I wanted coffee. Oh, there's a Costa over there, and I looked over and I was just looking around. I was like, absolutely not. And then just saw your, obviously the Dark Horse, and I was like, we're going there. And then I think sausage rolls as well.
Not in
no?
Horsebox, no. Only cakes.
Oh, it might have been a cake then.
Yeah.
Might have been a cake.
Yeah, Horsebox brownies is what most people know us for. Chocolate brownies.
Chocolate brownies.
Yeah, we make.
Have you got the tables? Have you got tables?
There's
outside?
tables all outside.
Benches,
yeah. So that's the main one, and then we just opened one in the Botanic Gardens, so just down by the bridge.
It's mega there.
Yeah, so just.
Where's that, Oxford?
Yeah, it's just on the bridge. It's honestly, it's a great place.
Yeah,
it's beautiful, great walk round.
Yeah, nice location.
Yeah, and then our third one is at the Arboretum, so part of Botanic Gardens, just outside in Newnham Courtney.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're there. So that is on there. That's the 3 horse boxes, and then the two vans kind of do events and poodle around. Trying to get coffee out to the world.
Yeah, exactly. So the horse box started off. That was the business first, and then you guys roasted.
Emily's first business. Yeah, so
right?
she converted her childhood horse box. The first one to become Horsebox number 1,
cool,
as we call it.
And where's that one based?
So that one currently is, I have to remember because they move around. I think that is the one that's at the Botanic at the moment. Normally it's at the museum.
There's a bit of history there.
So that was
first one.
She did that in 2015, so that started. And then her whole ambition was to set up a coffee roastery.
So it was,
So that was all just stepping stones towards opening the coffee roastery, which opened in 2018. So then we purchased the roaster and started roasting.
From 2018?
From 2018, yeah.
So you was there from the start, I guess?
2022 I started there.
So you was there
but I got into coffee, I used to be an international rower, so when I retired from rowing, I moved to Melbourne, Australia to go coaching.
Okay.
And if you've been to Melbourne, coffee is pretty good.
I was just going to say, coffee is massive, isn't it, in Australia?
Massive, yeah. They don't take it lightly.
No, and it's good.
Really good. So I stumbled across. I never used to drink coffee as an athlete. I used to use it for like caffeine kicks, and used to drink some terrible stuff. And so when I moved to Melbourne and stumbled across real coffee, that was it. It's like an epiphany moment of, this is what I need to be doing.
And they're all independent as well?
All independent. A lot of them have their own roasters in their cafe.
Yeah.
So they're roasting their own coffee for their own cafe. So they really take it seriously. And then when I moved back to the UK, at that point coffee was still kind of trying to get going, specialty coffee. It was, it'd been going in London for a fair few years, but trying to get something close to that. Found a local roaster. I'm from Nottingham, so I found a local Nottingham roaster. And just started playing about with coffee really. And then ended up where we are now, where I'm working coffee and just whole day surrounded by it.
You are, all day. How many coffees? I've asked you this before, but how many coffees do you have a day?
I try and restrict myself to 3.
3, and what would they be?
Normally start with Americano, probably maybe 2 Americanos, and then switch to a flat white.
And would you let Emily or anyone else make you a coffee?
No. She doesn't. She hasn't worked out yet that I don't generally like people making me coffee. I like to make it myself.
It's a ritual, isn't it?
I like it. I really like it.
For me, I enjoy the whole ritual.
The whole process. But do you know what I guess for you and other roasters out there, if you're roasting coffee and you have a palate for it, because a lot can go wrong when you're making a coffee. This is what people don't realise, and we'll get on to obviously that whole process of the bean in the hopper, grinder to the machine, right? Because we have so many customers say, oh, that coffee machine must be so expensive because it makes a good coffee, and I'm like, all that happens is water goes through that port filter, so that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
There's so much more that leads up to that point to make that a good coffee.
Yeah.
But yeah, it must be hard because you've got such a taste and a palate for it that if I made you a Dark Horse Americano from here, you would taste the difference from you making it. Whether that be a little bit
Hopefully
more,
not.
hopefully not, but you know, whether the thing is, from my understanding, if that is like a little bit out, so it's a little bit more sour or a little bit more bitter, or you would taste that straight and you'd notice it.
It's all about extraction.
Yeah.
You're basically balancing the extraction level. You want to get it just right, where it's not too sour and not too bitter.
That's right.
And just nicely balanced. And yeah, you can taste that even in a latte or a cappuccino. You can taste it.
Yeah.
So we do hear a lot of people saying, you know, oh, should we go for a coffee? Or, do you want to go there? No, I don't like the coffee. It's generally not the coffee. It's normally the way it's actually been set up.
Yeah.
There's probably nothing wrong with the coffee.
No.
So that's why we kind of educate people in that actually it's extraction. It's making the difference. It's how you set your grinder up to.
That grinder is the
extract
most
coffee.
important thing in a coffee shop, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the person using it, obviously.
The skill, the talent,
it is.
the
And
experience.
I'm telling you, it is. And there's so much, like, you know, I think the more I remember when I started off doing the events and stuff, I would waste so much coffee because when you know, right? But you could go a little bit the wrong way, and then when it's kind of, it's like you're thinking, okay, where am I now? Like you can get lost because if you go one way too much, it's going to have an effect. If you go one way, the other way too much, it's going to have a massive effect. So knowing where you are at certain stages, and then you're weighing it, whatever you're doing it at 18 grams, you can get lost in it.
That's the biggest thing, really, is weighing it. If you don't weigh the coffee, you suddenly have a variable that you have no control of. Because when you're adjusting, you're going to get more or less coffee, so you need to take that variable out. So get yourself some scales, weigh every shot in whilst you're setting up, and then once you've got that kind of set up and you've got you're getting exactly the same amount every time, then suddenly it gets a lot easier. But like we're saying, if you go slightly too far the wrong way, you can end up with it tasting really sour and watery. You go too far the other way, it's going to be bitter, burnt, and most people have tried one of those. It's unbearable.
Normally from Costa.
Yeah, you can taste it.
So I hope everyone's listening on how to do this, especially Marla.
And
Marla will be watching this and she's weighing it out.
If you
not just
pressing
pressing the
scales.
buttons.
if you've got a bean to cut machine at home, you haven't got a set of coffee scales.
That's the biggest
Well,
one.
you've got these bean to
you
cup
go
machines
wrong.
which are literally, you pour your coffee in the sort of right beans, fantastic. Right, good, that's a start.
Have you got a bean to cut machine at home?
I'm going to get one of the decent ones.
You get an espresso one?
Yeah, I'm going to have to, because the one we've got at home is literally, I've got loads of daughters at home, so they come in, they pour it in, they press the button, it goes, and it comes out, and that's it. There's no real skill involved.
Don't know what's going on.
Don't know what's going on. There's no, you can either high, medium, or low.
Yeah.
That's
We'll
it.
get you a rocket from Espresso
I want to
Pro.
get a rocket. Yeah.
So yes, we'll have a code soon for that. So
It's
you can
unbelievable,
get one.
and there's a lot of people like that, because what happens is they go from Starbucks and then they're on other bigger brands, I leave them all out, and they come to a decent shop like this and they start to like it and they think, oh, I'll buy this machine. And it's actually not what it's the same as Nescafe, right? You might as well just do that because it's the same. So it's understanding the difference.
It is.
If you really want to make that move to having decent quality coffee, you need to invest a bit of time and research into what it is.
You do,
It's definitely a hobby.
Yeah.
Home espresso especially is definitely a hobby.
I think it's.
I had one and I just didn't have the time.
No.
In the end, it's like I'd love to do a lovely filtered coffee, but I'm always rushing. I never. Unless I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but who wants to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning before work? And it's just kind of like, it just, it's a hobby, and it's very time consuming.
It is,
But
it's great.
But
it's still,
listen,
to me, I love to just.
If you're working from home, Perfect, isn't it? All day long.
Spend all morning.
Oh yeah, like just leave your laptop on. Looks like you're working.
I've done that.
Yeah, I know you do.
Never done that.
No, you can't, mate. You've got a manual job. You're hands-on. So yeah, so obviously there's a lot of process that goes into making that good coffee, right? So we've touched on it about let's get the beans in the hopper, okay? Now you can have it depends what you're set up for, but we're 18 grams in, right?
Yeah, the standard
is 18
UK
grams.
standard is 18.
18, right? So would that 18 grams always double when it's to liquid?
Generally, yeah.
Generally, it's 18 to 36. 18 in, 36 out.
Sometimes we push it a little bit further, push it to 40. But yeah, that 1 to 2 ratio is pretty much a standard.
It's a standard.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what we do in the coffee house. So with our house bean. So just talk about that process of in the grinder, getting 18 grams out, then you're tampering it, which again, if you're not tampering it to what is the required pressure?
We kind of say there's no real set thing. It's just kind of enough pressure where it's firm, flat, and even. There's a lot of overthinking with tamping.
Yeah.
You don't need to overthink it.
And it needs to be level.
That's the main thing.
That is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you don't tamp it level, then you end up with a wonky coffee in the basket, and then the water will just come down the thinner side.
That's right. Yeah.
You end up with it tasting over extracted and burnt and horrible.
Yeah.
So it's more about making sure it's flat, firm, and just it's going to extract nice and even.
So then you're weighing it, okay? So it's 18 grams, bang on, 1 or 2 either way, 17.9, 18.1, doesn't really matter. So let's just say you bang on 18, you tamper it, you put it in the machine, and from that point, what are you looking at for when it starts to extract, from the time it starts coming through to the time it should be stopping? What does that look like? Because what people might do is they might do all that and tamper it, put it in their machine, and it starts coming out free. They don't know whether that's right or wrong.
Yeah.
So what does that look like?
Generally, we look for 30 seconds from when you press the button to when it stops. That's 30 seconds. So you press the button, you're looking at your scales. Hopefully you've got your scales underneath so you can see how much liquid you're getting out. And once you get to 36, 40 grams, press stop. That should be about 30 seconds. And that should get you, for 95% of coffees, that'll get you a really nice extracted espresso.
So from when you press the button, you're looking at around about 5 seconds for it to start.
Yeah, 5 to 7 seconds for the first drop, as they call it.
Yeah.
And then a full completed shot in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds.
Yeah, with Dark Horse especially, you want to be right bang on at 30 seconds.
Yeah.
If you're down at even 25, 24 seconds, you're going to taste that it's a little bit sour. You're just not quite extracting enough out of it. And then you start going into that 34, 35, 36, and you start to taste that it's a little bit burnt.
Yeah.
It's not burnt, you're just extracting too much from it. And you start to get the roasted flavours that aren't necessarily desirable in the cup.
So when you're saying you're over extracting, what is that? What does that mean?
So
what does that look
they
like
say,
for somebody at home doing coffee?
So basically, when you've got your whole coffee bean, 30% of that coffee bean is actually extractable, so it's soluble in water. The other 70% is what's left in your portafilter after you've finished and you knock it out into your box. That is the other 70%. But of that 30%, really only 18 to 22% of it is actually desirable in the cup. So we're looking to hit that sweet spot of 18 to 22% in that 30 seconds. If you're down at 24 seconds or 20 seconds, so for instance, you're probably going to be extracting more like 14, 12% of that ground coffee. If you're going over that 30 seconds, you're going to extract more, closer to that 30%, and you're going to start to really taste burnt compounds.
We could probably do a vid of that as well.
Yeah, we could do.
It's got a few tapes, obviously.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing it, mate, there'll be a lot.
Well, I'll just press it.
It is really noticeable. If
Yeah.
you get to try it, it's considerably noticeable if you take a shot and run it to 15 seconds and take a shot and run it to 45, and then the sweet spot in the middle, you'll taste the difference. It's massive. And that's where a lot of people, will say that they don't like the coffee, but it's not the coffee's fault. It's the way it's done.
Because the bean is the bean, it is how you make that coffee. So when I talk to my customers about it, I say to them, like, the most important part of this whole coffee shop is that grinder, because if you haven't grinded the coffee to the desired whatever you're going to be serving it at, whether 18 grams,
you need that adjustability, definitely.
And also what people don't realise is we'll do in the morning, we'll do, especially in the summer when the ambient temperature changes and stuff, we'll do our first 10 coffees after starting the coffee machine up. Then 10 to 15 will start to change. So then you need to change it again.
You start to adjust it as
you need to adjust as you go through that day. It's not just you set that in the morning. And I was having a conversation with one of our customers. He loves his coffee, and I was doing a coffee when he was in, and I had my scales up. It was like mid-morning. And he was like, "Oh, don't you do that first thing in the morning?" I was like, "No, I've done it already." He's like, "What do you mean?" So then I was just talking about that whole process again. And he said, "Well, do you know what? I used to work in Costa, and I used to do my work in Costa that he used to live by. And he said I'd be there from like 8 o'clock in the morning for like probably 11 o'clock, just doing work on the computer. Never seen anyone do that. I've never even seen a scale behind there. Do you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
I'm absolutely digging Costa out here, but I'm using them as an example, right? Because listen,
it's factory coffee, so you go in there and it's exposing everybody to the coffee, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing, right? But it's almost like it's a factory. You just go in there, bang, you don't see any of this stuff you see in here. You just don't see it. It's like bang, next, bang. It's just like
it's just an extra care and attention, though, isn't it? To get the most out of it.
It's just a lot.
Paying a lot more money for that coffee.
Yeah.
It's not cheap specialty coffee, but there's a reason for it, and that is that it's transparent and it tastes better.
Yeah, that's right. But the thing is, like, all these big chains are actually charging a hell of a lot more money than most independent coffee shops. Let's be honest. Because there are some other. I've just been down in Brighton. Went to an absolutely wicked coffee shop. It was so cool, really small. It was in the lanes in Brighton. I can't think, it was called 17 square, something like that. But anyway, we went in there, had a flat white. It was unbelievable, It's just so nice. Food was really good. So there's loads of good coffee shops out there, but I think for a flat white in Brighton, in the city as well, I think it was £3.40 I paid for a flat white. But that's not bad for being in Brighton. Being a speciality. You go into Starbucks down the road, that's £3.90.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you're just trying to say is that all these independent coffee shops, they don't overcharge.
No,
when they can get away with it. Let's be honest. We could probably independent coffee shops. With the coffee that we're producing, we could probably charge what Costa and that pay charge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's just about you've got to be competitive, haven't you, as well?
Well, exactly.
Because like you said, once people start coming in and they do it, they'll footfall, they'll come in more, that sort of thing. So I have a question for you, right? So is putting sugar in coffee a crime? Is it?
Well, syrup is.
Well, syrup. Well, yeah, syrup is.
I think
the reason I say people are like, they go through all this stuff, they get the coffee they want, and you bung about 4 sugars in.
Yeah, I don't. Do you know what? I think sugar is less of a crime.
Really?
Than a syrup.
Why?
Yeah.
Why, Grant?
I can feel Ed looking at me now like you've just said put sugar in a coffee. I just think the syrup completely takes away the taste of the coffee, whereas the sugar does to a certain extent, but not as much as the syrup.
They can take longer to do.
So if somebody like my dad used to go to Costa before I was into coffee, and he'd have a latte, he'd have 6 sugars. And I was like, why would you put 6 sugars in there? He said, well, it tasted bitter.
That's the best.
Do you know what I mean? And here's the thing, but
It just tastes like a milkshake now.
because he's not educated over coffee, he just thinks every coffee tastes
Well,
bitter.
it's about taste, isn't it? I mean, it's
Well,
what,
yeah.
it's what you taste.
Coffee is bitter naturally, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but you shouldn't be like going,
yeah.
oh, like,
There's
you
something
know.
gone wrong.
Do you know what I mean?
I've stopped putting sugar in now.
So I'd say sugar, but I mean,
taste.
Yeah, I don't personally don't drink it with sugar.
no, I mean I don't, but
No, I think
Right,
there's
so
room for
there's-
syrups. Yeah,
I think it defeats the object.
in ice drinks definitely.
Yeah.
In ice drinks, they do benefit from a little bit of syrup.
yeah, I mean we do ice vanilla lattes
Ice
and
vanilla
caramel vanilla
lattes. I know someone who likes it a lot.
lattes, like so many.
But vanilla lattes and hot vanilla lattes and things that I don't know, I find them too sweet.
Yeah.
I like the bitterness of coffee. It's you know,
It's the
it's
coffee.
like wine. You know,
Yeah,
it's
no,
the same
exactly.
sort of thing.
Yeah,
It's got
it's
that
like-
nice kind of.
I think
Taste to
they
it.
do these great chili sausage rolls. It's fantastic. I love that one, right? But and that's what got me off having sugar because I was like this the balance of those two tastes of my coffee and that it was just you feel it on your palate.
Yeah.
It's just so much nicer.
Well, talking about you saying about the chili sausage roll and the coffee, I'm really intrigued with the Wild Horse because it's got that Asian
Yeah,
kind of
it's got a
spice.
little, yeah, a
to
little
it.
bit Asian spice.
So, yeah.
It's smoother than Dark Horse, which is really hard to describe, but it definitely is. With Dark Horse, yeah, it's mostly it's from Guatemala and Honduras. The Honduras is what we call a honey processed coffee, so it's a little bit sweet and a little bit funky, which doesn't come through in the espresso, but it gives it a really nice undertone. With the Wild Horse, they're both washed coffees, so it's really smooth, really balanced. But yeah, that little touch of like spicy aftertaste.
Yeah.
So that might go quite well with
Yeah,
spicy
well that's what I'm
sausage
just
rolls.
thinking, yeah, because we could then advertise it as like a little bit of a promotion deal of, you know, a spicy chili
Yeah.
sausage roll.
And
you
the-
could be our
the
tester.
farm-
I'm happy to be that tester.
Yeah, the
And,
farm in Timor-Leste is something that we're working really closely with the guys that have started that. The story is pretty awesome. So yeah, Emily's going out to Timor-Leste in a few weeks to go out to the farm and meet the farmers that are actually growing our coffee. And
Amazing.
work with them and pick the coffee with them and we're looking to increase that relationship because the company that we buy the coffee from called Cast Organics, the stuff they're doing out in Timor-Leste is pretty awesome.
And where is that?
Timor-Leste, just north of Australia,
Oh, okay.
towards Bali, Lombok, that sort of area.
Okay.
So yeah, it's nice,
crazy, isn't
but it's got a pretty rough history, Timor-Leste. So it definitely is something they're trying to really get farmers access to market, which was something that they never had before. So they're definitely.
And that's what I love. It's got like cool stories.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, all these farms and like these are generational farms, aren't they? And it's like when you see them like working and stuff on their own. Emily sent me, when we started working with you guys, Emily sent me a video of where our beans come from on that farm. And it's just like they go about their normal day, and it's just kind of like what they do on them farms to where we are now in a coffee shop. It's just mental.
Yeah.
It's
know?
a lot of hard work.
Yeah,
A lot of
hell of
hard
a
work
lot.
to get it where it is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I think and it's nice.
Alex is telling us to stop waffling.
We will talk on forever. We will
Yeah.
talk for 2 hours, as we've said.
So
before.
did you want to ask Ed anything other, or did I capture all your...
You captured the
Did I?
majority of my questions. It was pretty good, actually. It's like you looked at my questions before I even.
I did, but I didn't remember them. I remember
I
them.
we cover most of those things. I think it's important. I think this kind of takes. If people listen to this, which they should, of course, it will take them time. You should just try it. Just try doing it yourself a bit more.
Yeah.
As in get the tamping right, get a decent machine. Start
Yeah.
doing
And
it.
try different coffees.
Yeah.
And try-
Coffee is very, very, there's so much variation with it.
Yeah.
It
Just
is
because you
literally
try one.
like wine.
Yeah,
Just
just
don't
try
do this-
one, it
yeah.
doesn't mean you don't like the
Absolutely
other.
right. Yeah, just don't go to Sainsbury's or wherever it is, a big superstore, and just get their.
No, that's right. I mean, just try these independent. You know, obviously, as I said, like
roasters. Yeah.
for the Dark Horse Roastery, we'll put a link up in the description for them.
I'm sure we can sort out a discount code as well.
And then so we'll try and do a discount with these guys as well, so everyone gets a little discount. And then whatever discount these guys do, we'll do on ours as well, which will be on our website, which we'll put a link in. Try and keep it local. You know, don't go to these big bloody supermarkets and stuff, because, as I said, you sit on the shelf for months and months and months. At least you know what you're getting when you're buying from.
Yeah, most of the time you buy our coffee, you'll get, especially with our house roasts, there'll be 1 to 2 days off roast. So by the time they come to you, maybe 3 to 4 days since roast. So it's pretty much perfect.
The best coffee, and that's exactly what we do. So we get delivery off of you every Wednesday, Thursday, and it's in your cup. Do you know what I mean? So you don't get it no fresher.
Yeah, we roast it on a Monday and it's in your cup on Friday. So
exactly, and the thing is, when you're buying it online from these guys, it's no different. So.
So thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you, Ed. Yeah, thank you, mate. No, it's been great, and do you know what? Like, I've learned stuff I don't know hardly nowhere near as what you know about coffee. So I've learned from
coffee
it.
Geek.
Yeah, and I've learned stuff, but it's great because we do get a lot of people that love their coffee. You know,
it's
like you love your coffee, don't you?
I love it. I come down. It's a little treat to me.
People are starting to realise that coffee isn't just that caffeine kick that it was.
No.
It's like wine. Everyone understands that wine, you know, you can have a Chardonnay versus something else and it tastes completely different.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, with coffee it's even more complex. You can travel the world with coffee and it all tastes different.
Yeah, exactly.
As we are and will be.
So. Cool.
So I guess thanks a lot. It's been really
thank you.
really
I
interesting.
appreciate it. Thank you.
I think the next podcast we do, we're going to be talking about the Giro d'Italia, which has just finished today.
The Giro.
And unbelievable. We all know who's won it. So it's incredible. I just blown away yesterday. I watched it 3 times. And coming up to
quite emotional.
It was, especially from the Belgian guys in the car. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then we've got Tour de France coming up soon.
And we've got that coming up, and then we've also got. I'm hoping to get some other people on here. I won't say any names.
No.
But to do cycling related, so a lifestyle clothing brand, and talking about the Espresso Pro rocket machines as well. We're talking about that because we'll be able to buy them little home machines which are sick. They'll be like the one in a coffee shop, but obviously shrunk down. So hoping to get a couple of guys on regarding that as well. So, because I know everyone gets bored of just talking about me and Chippo just sitting here, so it's always good when we've got someone in between us.
It is, yeah. It makes it more interesting, yeah, because everyone knows, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But,
right, that's it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks,
Thank you very
guys.
much. Cheers,
See you
guys.
soon. Thanks and bye.
See you soon.